Okay, so now we're in Teams. We have our Accounts Payable Copilot Bot here. A few hours ago, I said hello to it just to see what was going on. And it said, how can I help you today? So I'm new to using this bot. So I need to know what, I got caps lock on here. What can I ask you? Question mark. And it's going to come back with a series of prompts. Right now, we have this Copilot bot restricted purely to accounts payable within SAP. This is just a starting point. So we have a series of prompts that will interact with Power Automate Cloud Flows behind the scenes, and we'll see that when we lift up the hood. But for now, all we're trying to do is get through the accounts payable process and get our vendor paid. So the first thing I want to say is look up an invoice. And it's going to tell me what invoice. So to give you a little context of the scenario we're looking at here, we've got a purchase order. This is a pre-built Power App sitting on top of an SAP purchase order. And we've received the goods, and we've actually received the invoice from the vendor. And when I click on that hyperlink, it takes me into the view of this vendor invoice. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to copy and paste that into Teams. And by the way, to prove that this demo is actually working, I want you all to pay attention to the document status of this vendor invoice. So in most cases in accounts payable, a vendor sends you an invoice, maybe it gets ingested through some sort of scanning service like OpenText and goes into park status in your SAP system until somebody goes in and makes sure that everything matches and then basically posts the invoice and the payment gets unlocked. So remember that it says park there. It's going to be important down the road when we go into the past. So I'm just going to paste that in there. And what it's doing now behind the scenes is it's looking up and it's calling our Power Automate Cloud Flows. And we're going to talk a lot more about what's going on in there. But essentially, we have all of these pre-built CRUD operations that are running against SAP data objects. And these are available to you free. They're on our GitHub account, and you can import these into your environment and start tweaking them. And we're going to talk more about that in a few minutes about how that actually works. But it's essentially calling our read vendor invoice. It's summarizing it for us, giving us all of that information. And then I can say something like confirm to pay. And what it's actually going to do is it's going to analyze it. And I mistyped. There we go. Paste that same invoice number again. And Copilot's actually going to go look at the purchase orders, the quantities, look at the goods receipts, the quantities, make sure everything matches, compare it to the vendor invoice, and then give us a recommendation. So essentially what somebody in your accounts payable department would be doing today, Copilot's doing for us in a matter of seconds. So it's a very long James Joyce-like response there with a lot of words, but essentially what it's saying is everything matches. So go ahead and approve and release this vendor invoice. So I'm going to say approve invoice. By the way, this does work voice to text as well. So if you're doing this on your phone, when you're taking the train to work or boarding a plane to come to Seattle, it works. So it's going to prompt me, are you sure you want to do this? Yes. And now behind the scenes, it's calling one of our Power Automate Cloud Flows to actually post that vendor invoice and release the payment to go out based on the vendor's payment terms. So it says it was successfully approved, but you guys are thinking, I don't believe you. So the first thing I'm going to do is refresh this purchase order, and we should see a payment there that comes up in that column in the items table now. So there we go. We have a payment associated with that vendor invoice, and now the real trick is going to be when I refresh the vendor invoice, does it now say posted?